They're so sweet. Then they go on their little mandate, and that's when it's all manipulation, but they somehow fall in love anyway.
That's the Bialystok magic. He's manipulating you. He's using you to get what he wants, but he makes you feel great about it.
This is the happiest he seems to have been in a long time in his life. Like, he's got a purpose now to do something that isn't just put on another show.
Right.
We watched Blazing Saddles. We had the same takeaway. We're like, we like when they're nice friends with each other.
We like when they're sweeties. Yeah. We're such basic assholes.
Hey folks, you're about to listen to or watch our episode about Mel Brooks' 1968 film, The Producers. And our guest is Harry Marks, aka Let's All Go to the Lobby, aka Lobby Intros. A great guest. It's a good episode. Do be advised though, around the 30-minute mark for about 3 to 4 minutes, there's some spotty audio. But don't worry, after that, it's smooth sailing from there.
So just keep sailing.
Keep sailing.
Bitches.
Now, next week, April 5th, we will be taking the week off to reflect and solemnly commemorate the Great Bunny. After that, we'll be back April 12th with an episode about...
Overboard. Goldie Hawn and that snack.
Come on.
Boo.
One syllable.
Dave.
Sounds like...
Hal. Or Oren. What's his name, Matt?
Kurt Russell. Yes. So Overboard on April 12th. And then, hey, April 19th, we're going to be doing an episode about X2, a.k.a. X-Men 2, a.k.a. X-Men United.
Pearl X, 2 orgasms?
Yeah, it's like Pearl X2gasms. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, here we go with the episode. Love you. Goodbye. Hello and welcome to Load Bearing Beams. I'm Matt Stokes.
And I'm Laci Roth.
Who is here with us today on the line, our very special guest.
Hi, I'm Harry Marks.
Yeah.
Hi, Harry Marks. Thank you so much for being on the show with us. We're delighted to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be had.
Tell everybody who doesn't know, who isn't aware, tell our audience who you are, what you do, what your deal is.
So I'm Harry Marks. I run Let's All Go to the Lobby on TikTok and Instagram, which is a sort of film history, classic film focused channel. I'm a self-described film historian. I do a lot of videos on old Hollywood history. I started the channel as a way to recreate my favorite part of Turner Classic Movies, which are the introductions to the films. Mm-hmm. So I would research, write, and host the introductions. I've done over 100 so far, and I've got more in the pipeline. I just have to get around to them. So that's me.
They're great. You do a great job. I was just watching
thank you.
Some of them. I watched your Rebel Without a Cause intro because I actually just watched that movie recently. But like, how did you get into doing that?
He loves seeing it.
So that one wasn't an intro. That was an ad I had done as a sort of a favor for a classic film historian on Instagram who was hosting a big screening of it in California at the Orinda Theater.
Cool.
So he was like trying to get people to come and try to get the word out. And I reached out and I was like, hey, I'd be more than happy to do it on my TikTok channel. And he's like, yeah, anything. So I put that together for him. So I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, just how did you start doing this?
Boredom mostly. I had started my TikTok channel over a year ago, maybe even 2 years at this point. And it was I didn't know what to do with it. I was lurking a lot. I was watching a lot of videos and I wanted to create something and I wasn't entirely sure which way to go. And at a certain point I was watching Turner Classic Movies or I was scrolling through YouTube or something. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to, because that was the one thing I noticed that TCM had been missing from its social media channels, because they would show clips of various movies. They've gotten very big on like almost memes at this point. You know, like Cary Grant thirst traps and things, but they never showed my favorite part of the channel, which was the introductions. And so I thought I would fulfill that need on my channel. And that's how that started.
It's so smart. There's nothing else like what Harry does. So everyone knows you don't even have to say, let's go to the lobby. You just say, that classic movie guy.
And I do love the intros. I mean, yeah, I have so much nostalgia for watching Turner Classic Movies and watching Robert Osborne. And I have so many VHS recordings from TCM that unfortunately, like TCM didn't have commercials or doesn't have commercials. And now I have hundreds of videotapes recorded from TV. The only thing I'm interested in about them is the commercials.
So you just have a bunch of TCM.
So
with
I just
no
have a
commercials?
bunch of TCM, but the intros from Robert Osborne, I think, are very valuable.
Send them to Harry.
Yeah.
No. Send them to a museum, Matt.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know they've re-recorded a lot of them they've got like 5 or 6 hosts now. You know, Ben Mankiewicz and Eddie Muller and Alicia Malone. But I know that if you go to the TCM Watch app on, like I use it on the Apple TV, you can watch the film, but right below the button for the film, they have a button to watch the introductions. So you can watch the intro before you watch the film. And then sometimes they'll have the outro. Every once in a while, like Ben Mankiewicz will do an outro with some more facts about the movie. And you can watch that too, which is nice.
I mean, how did you get into classic movies?
Yeah, why classic movies?
It's what I grew up on. My parents always had TCM on at some point during the day. Either my mom would be in the bedroom watching a Judy Garland movie, or my dad would be watching something like a movie musical or something. He's a musician, so it was always on. And my grandma also had it on all the time. So it was just like part of my, part of my DNA at this point.
Right. But that just means you had a good childhood. Otherwise, you would just rebel and go completely against it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And also, I mean, it literally is part of my DNA. My grandfather was in the 1944 film Step Lively with Frank Sinatra. So that was always a fun thing to have in my back pocket.
Sorry, I didn't tell you that. I didn't want you to get starstruck, Matt.
Do you have
Surprise.
some of your favorite films, or just like, do you have a specific era or star or director that you like from that era?
My favorite movie star of all time is Humphrey Bogart, without a doubt. So Casablanca, Maltese Falcon, High Sierra, and A Lonely Place. And A Lonely Place is probably my favorite, next to Casablanca, my favorite performance of his. I think it's one of his best. Dare I say, better than The Caine Mutiny. And then my favorite classic film of all time is Sweet Smell of Success with Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis. Just in my opinion, the best script ever put on film.
I told you and him had a lot in common.
Yeah.
You don't realize Matt never has anyone to talk about this kind of shit with. And all I hear is Matt when you're talking.
Yeah, because when we talk about classic movies on the podcast, Laci says I'm lying and I don't actually like them.
Oh no, it's a small population. It seems like, especially on Film Talk. And Lacey's in the Discord server with me and like 100 other people, and they all talk about the same 12 movies that are airing right now. And I'm one of like 5 classic film talkers on the app that talk about this stuff. So it's a small niche.
Yeah, and I think you might be the only one on the Discord right now too that's in that groove.
And also, when we do a classic movie on the show, our numbers go down.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm hoping
Really?
we can.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like, I think The Producers is a classic era movie.
I think Gene Wilder is going to do better than, yeah.
But
like Duck Soup didn't like slay the audiences. Our silent movies don't go over.
Enough, Duck Soup was the first intro I had that went viral. It got up to like 35,000 hits. It was so weird. And it's interesting that film, one of the best Marx Brothers films, if not the best. My favorite is Horse Feathers, but Duck Soup is one of the most important, influential films ever made. And it shocks me that episode didn't do numbers for you guys.
There just wasn't a big enough. We were still too young. We didn't have TikTok, and I don't even know that we're in the right. You're in the right groove, but I'm still stuck in like horror land. I mean, Film Talk in general is just kind of consumed by horror.
It's mostly horror.
I think that our niche, our very micro niche, is movies that us 90s kids grew up with, and now we make fun of it, which is fine. It's a lot of fun. I aspire to.
We don't just
have
make
a broader
fun.
Selection.
Shut up.
I haven't listened to your episode on evolution yet, but I saw the clip on on Instagram or on
TikTok.
TikTok, one of them, and I was like, "That's a classic. That is a classic.
And
I will not accept."
And I said, "I will talk to you about this tonight, young man, because I implore you to watch it again with your adult eyes.
Don't watch it though.
Don't. But I know I sound like a totally.
I did. I watched it like 2 months ago. It still holds up.
Fuck.
What?
Fuck.
Yeah.
I just found it so. It just seemed like adult road trip, adult American Pie, and it just wasn't hitting for me. Like I don't want boner locker room humor.
Ivan Reitman remade Ghostbusters with aliens. That's what it is, and it's great, and it's so
he
funny.
Fucking wishes.
Orlando Jones is hysterical.
They're all working really hard.
They didn't do much with Julianne Moore, and that pisses me off. But all right, agree.
No, they didn't. But Orlando Jones is the whole movie for me. Him and Sean William Scott are hilarious.
Okay, now
I love Sean William Scott.
Matt would agree with you there.
Every time I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, I love you.
Oh yeah, you seem like you just have one thing, but that one thing is great. It's great. He's got so much energy.
Well, because we did an episode on Dude, Where's My Car years ago. A movie that I watched a million times when I was a kid.
Low key good.
And when I was a kid, I thought that these two actors are obviously equally funny and the same. And as an adult, I'm like, oh, Sean William Scott, you're so much funnier.
You hate Ashton Kutcher.
Well, yes, but it's just like, oh, you're a real legit talent.
He's a like just a physical face. I don't know. I feel like you don't get as many of those anymore. All right.
I saw that you had a video talking about advice or sort of what movies to watch if you're getting into classic movies.
Yes.
And the thing that you said was you do need to sort of understand that the movies, they're not going to be like the movies you see now. And you kind of have to calibrate your brain to understand that you're watching a different time and sensibilities were different and style was different. Acting style was different. Directing was different.
Right.
And I think that it's, key to especially understanding comedies of the past. And
it's such a fucking cop out. I'm sorry. Make your point, dear love.
Oh, just that while we were watching The Producers, I was not expecting to be like a woke 2024 guy to be like, oh my God, this is just unacceptable. But I did kind of feel that
like
halfway through the movie.
I know.
And I was totally surprised. I had totally erased this from my memory.
The go-go dancing?
No, not that. It's
what?
The director, the cross-dressing director.
Oh, sure. You do have to excuse it. I mean, it was funny.
Was it funny?
I don't mean that. Okay, but that's a great example of like Mel Brooks does a lot of lecherous stuff, and it totally works for me because the people are fucking funny. There's an intention. There's a knowing. There's that character's supposed to be a little gross. And with Evolution, those are just two teachers who are in charge of a bunch of freaking kids who are fucking gross. All right. I'll get off my Evolution horse.
Let's add some order.
Okay.
Harry, can you tell us what is your relationship with Mel Brooks in general and The Producers in particular?
So I came to The Producers much later because I grew up watching Robin Hood Men in Tights, Dracula Dead and Loving It, Spaceballs. Later on, I got into Young Frankenstein, and then The Producers was a much more recent watch for me. It was one of those like, I'll get to it when I get to it. And then I really only saw it for the first time maybe 5 years ago. And then I hadn't really revisited it since. And it's an interesting film for me because it is so unlike anything else he did. There were like 3 movies in Mel Brooks's filmography that he did that are just straight movies. They're not parodies. They're not spoofs. They're just, this is a film set in the modern day or whatever. It's as grounded as it's going to be for a Mel Brooks comedy. And
that's true.
Right.
I didn't think
it
of
was
that.
No,
just,
you're totally right.
It blew me away that way. Like there's no cutaways. There's no like anachronistic references to modern day things in a past, like in Robin Hood Men in Tights, they reference, modern day anachronisms and stuff. And so it sort of like when the Flintstones movie put McDonald's in there, like that kind of stuff.
Yes.
There was none of that. It's just it's a comedy. It's a straight up buddy comedy.
Oh, wait, what are the other 2 though? I'm trying to think.
There was one he did in 1991. I can't remember the name of it.
Life Stinks.
It stars Life Stinks. There's that one. And then what was the other? Oh, he did an adaptation of the 12
The 12 chairs.
Steps or the 12 chairs. That's it. So those three films are as close to a regular movie from Mel Brooks you're going to get.
I actually I didn't know about the 12 chairs until doing the research for this episode.
I
know. I felt so dumb. It's like, wait, Mel Brooks had a movie between The Producers and
You're a fraud.
Blazing Saddles. Yeah. Okay. Laci, what about you? Relationship to Mel Brooks. What movies?
Robin Hood Men in Tights, baby, all fucking day. I could watch it now, tomorrow. He was an old time, like, I don't know, he made me feel smart. Watching his movies felt like smart, dumb comedy, and I knew he was highbrow. And
highbrow.
Yeah, I find him highbrow. That's my standards. Let's see, what else? Spaceballs. Sure. I saw that ruined Star Wars for me because nothing's better than Spaceballs.
Hey, well, you hadn't seen Star Wars. You saw Spaceballs. Then when you saw Star Wars, like, this is dumb.
It's just like, why aren't their hats any bigger?
Yeah.
Why aren't they making fun of their Pizza the Hut? Yeah.
Did I show you The Producers or not?
Yeah, you did. Of course you did. Yeah, I hadn't watched anything classy like that.
I just couldn't remember if we watched it. Did you have any memory of it?
Of The Producers?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it is also like a little fuzzy did Nathan Lane and Uma Thurman, and am I totally making that up?
The stage adaptation starred Nathan Lane.
I can't watch the stage adaptation.
They then made it into a movie version of the stage version.
Yeah. I
added Uma Thurman to that.
I probably saw that on accident. But yeah, no. Anything Gene Wilder's in, I'm immediately magnetized and drawn to the screen. But that's probably all I really remembered. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like it. I'd seen Blazing Saddles. Stop interviewing me now. Okay.
All right. My history is I didn't grow up with any of those movies, Spaceballs or Robin Hood or anything. When I started becoming a film snob at like age 15 or 16, I'm just like reading books like, here are the most important comedies, and The Producers kept showing up. They had The Producers, I think the American Film Institute had it in the top 10 or so comedies. And so I watched it, and I don't think I understood it at all, but I definitely was like, I like these two guys. I like them rolling on the floor together.
They sure like each other.
And
they're very intimate.
The more I watched it, the more I just liked these guys and thought these are two of the funniest performances. I did not understand any of the Nazi stuff. I mean, I knew like, oh, it's funny.
You were 15.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, oh, obviously it's funny that it's singing Hitler and singing Nazis and stuff. But I didn't think, now as a 36-year-old, I'm like, oh, okay, this is insane.
Yeah, this is fucking buck wild. Right. That they even got away with it when they did seems kind of wild to me, but
yeah.
Well,
then, yeah. So then I watched the other major Mel Brooks movies, and when the stage show they did a touring version, the producers toured the country, and they came to New Orleans in 2004.
What?
Now, my family had just adopted a baby, my sister, who I'm 16 years older than, and this was weeks after we got my sister, and I'm like, family, we deserve a break from all this baby raising.
That fucking baby, yeah.
Let's go see The Producers. And so they got a babysitter, and we all got all dressed up and went to the fancy big city to see The Producers. And my family received The Producers like the audience in the movie receives Springtime for Hitler.
Thought it was hilarious?
No. They were so confused and mad at me.
What?
Yeah.
They thought it was like anti-Semitic?
No, they're just like, this isn't funny. This is boring. This is so long. What are we doing? This is how we spend our time. I found my playbill from that show.
Hey.
This was Louis J. Stradlin and Alan Ruck in the touring production.
All right.
So I got to see Cameron from Ferris
Alan
Bueller
Ruck.
Live.
I knew
Cameron?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Taking over the role that Matthew Broderick played. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing I noticed about this movie while I was watching it, because it struck me that Zero Mostel plays Max Bialystock in this film. Nathan Lane plays him in the original Broadway musical. Zero Mostel also played Pseudolus in the 1966 A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Nathan Lane played him in the 96 Broadway revival. This is the second. These are two roles played by Zero Mostel and Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
But
It's a
while
good fit.
watching Zero, I only saw Nate. I mean, that energy is there. It's perfect. I think it makes complete sense.
I think this is such a singular performance.
It is.
Like,
What floored me about this film, and it really opened things up for me in watching Mel Brooks's other work, is that you can tell, like, he has a musical mind. He wrote Springtime for Hitler, the music and the lyrics, but he has an ear and a mind for writing musicals. And I could almost, through the movie, pinpoint that's where he's putting in, I Want to Be a Producer, and that's where he's putting in this song. And this, like, it's almost like he made this movie as a blueprint for the musical.
Yep. I thought so too. I thought like that maybe is why like Max and Leo kind of shrink into the background for a while, because it's like if this were a full-blown musical, you would have the space for all these other big numbers, and maybe sort of the narrative, kind of the way it jerks from one thing to another would make a lot more sense as a musical.
Right. Little short acts.
Yeah. Okay, let's hear. We always record our predictions before we...
Must we?
Yeah. So let's hear what each of us thought before we watch the movie.
I hate mine.
It's springtime for Harry, and I am here to predict that The Producers, made in 1967, will still feel as relevant today, maybe more so, given the current socio-political climate, as it did back then.
So what'd you think?
That was good. And he's just like you. He shoehorns in your freaking... He used the words from the movie to make his... I'm just saying, you guys are alike. Whatever.
I was interested. I was looking for what political... What is it saying?
What is it saying?
Other than like
Hitler bad.
Fuck Hitler. I don't know. It'll be. Let's talk. We'll get into
we'll get
that.
it. We'll dig in.
Yeah.
All right. Now my stupid fucking
Laci's.
Okay, great. I'm excited for The Producers. I watched it once. I remember thinking it was very funny. I love Gene Wilder. I think it's going to be quick and snappy and a romping good time. I know what it's about. Springtime and baking the worst play in order to get good results out of... You can do good with a bad play. I don't remember. I remember and I don't remember, and it's fine. I remember it's good. I'm educated. Bye. Nailed it. That was fucking brilliant. I wish you'd stop making me do these predictions. I do not like them.
They're so good.
They're not
so fun.
good. They're stupid.
They provide such order. Here's my prediction. I want to be a producer and make my prediction for The Producers. I watched maybe the first 30 minutes of The Producers a few months ago when I was doing some Gene Wilder research for our Wonka episode. And they're great. My question is, I know this is a great movie, and these are two great performances, and this is Mel Brooks, one of the great comedy filmmakers and just comic minds of all time. I guess the question is, like, in 2024, is this a laugh out loud funny movie throughout? Or is this like oh God, I just appreciate how funny these performances are. I'm just wondering how much we're going to laugh. I'm sure we'll laugh plenty, but will it be, when I was a snooty high school film snob, I said it's the funniest movie ever made. Will that hold true? We shall see. What were we all laughing out loud?
You laughed almost the whole time. I mean, I've never seen you laugh like that at a movie.
Really?
You would not stop. You were like vibrating.
Harry, were you laughing the whole time?
No, I wasn't, and I was wondering why. I laughed once we got to Springtime for Hitler, and you see all of the reactions in the audience to all of the agog faces. I started cackling, and that was about it. I chuckled here and there, but I also remember it being funnier than I thought it was now. And I don't know if it was I just wasn't in the right headspace for it or what, but like where I'll put on a Marx Brothers movie and laugh my ass off. This did not have that effect on me.
Huh.
I think it doesn't have jokes. Like other Mel Brooks movies have jokes. Marx Brothers movies have jokes. What's funny about The Producers, at least in the early section, is just these two men behaving the way they are. But it's not like they're wisecracking or anything.
No, right. You just gotta like the shit that's wrong with them. It's all performance. Yeah. It's all delivery. That's why I just can't even imagine that it could be written that way. It's just like, how do you even make that entertaining except for to be those two people.
Yeah, so I was surprised. Like, I still love it. I think it's a great movie. I was surprised at how draggy it was. I think especially in the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
Until they finally get to Springtime for Hitler, and then it picks back up again.
I had no memory of the fucking guy that plays Hitler, and oh my God, was he great.
Yeah.
I don't even think I could do an impression of it. It's so just that man. And then when Goebbels comes out, and then it's just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I was into it.
Funny. Okay.
All right.
We'll talk about the history now.
Great. Feel like we did. Can we skip it?
We'll talk more. Mel Brooks.
Hey.
Born in 1926. He's 97 years old right now. Still alive.
Jesus.
God bless him.
5'5". All right.
Yeah.
I insist
Okay.
Matt put the heights. Sorry.
Okay. He's born Melvin Kaminsky in Brooklyn. Comes from a Jewish family. His father's his father's family were German Jews. I think the subject matter is pretty personal for him.
No.
He started his showbiz career working as an assistant for a Broadway producer named Benjamin Kutcher. And in his book, All About Me, he tells the story of his first meeting with this Broadway producer. He knocks and enters the office, and the producer is standing there in his underwear and has his clothes drying on a clothesline in his office.
Oh.
And then he sped back out, said, "I'm so sorry." And then he comes back in and he starts talking to the producer. The producer tells him, "Here's what I do. I raise money primarily from elderly women."
Oh.
And like a lot of producers, I'll raise more money than I actually need, just in case. And Mel says, in retrospect, it's clear this was
Yeah.
this is where I got the idea from, and it's clear this guy is Bialystok, and I, the naive newcomer, am Leo Bloom.
Aww.
But that's kind of where it starts, at least according to Mel in his book.
All right.
He starts working for Sid Caesar. Laci, we last met Sid Caesar as Coach Calhoun in Grease, and Grease 2. But he was a popular TV show host in the 50s, and Mel Brooks was a writer for him, and that's where he met Carl Reiner.
Hot take. He's one of the funniest parts of Grease 1 and
He is,
2.
I agree.
He's fucking sweet and hilarious.
That was one of our takeaways.
It was.
We met Carl Reiner on the staff of Sid Caesar's shows, and they started doing this comedy routine, and it led to them developing an improvised bit, The 2,000-Year-Old Man. Laci, do you know The 2,000-Year-Old Man? Mm-mm. Harry, do you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd heard of it, but I'd never actually listened to it until recently, and yeah, it's pretty great. It's just, yeah. So the idea is that Carl Reiner will just throw a different scenario at him. You're 2,000 years old. What was food like back then? And they would just improvise, and it was different every time. They'd go on talk shows and do this. They recorded albums of this, and it was a big hit. And he was kind of in the 60s, before Mel Brooks ever started making movies. He was kind of a professional talk show guest. Like, he was on the first ever Johnny Carson Tonight Show. He's just a great guest to have.
He's a good wingman.
Yeah, or just a good interview.
Yeah.
Good to come on and do some jokes.
Gives good interview.
Yeah.
I love Get Smart.
He
Sorry.
co-created Get Smart.
Like, I'm reading that on the screen. It makes sense because Get Smart always felt ahead of its time. It was one of my favorite Nick at Night moments.
He had the idea for The Producers, or as it was originally called, Springtime for Hitler. He had the idea in the early 60s, and a Broadway producer told him, this won't work as a play. You have too many characters, too many sets. It's got to be a movie.
Oh,
so he's like, all right, I'll make a movie. And he brings it to producer Sidney Glazier, who loves the idea, and they sell it to Embassy Pictures. And in Mel's book, he says, like, at this point they're talking, they're like, who's going to direct it? And he's like, well, I'll direct it. I've got it all in my head. That way we won't have to hire another director. It'll all be simple. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, everything is very simple and clear cut in his book. I'd kind of like a little more
you
like.
might need another source for that, Matt.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Little more thought of like, why did you decide to be a director? What other directors did you like? What were you thinking about?
How could the only history of Mel Brooks be from Mel Brooks? Why wouldn't there be another?
It's not, but he's such a gadfly, such a tells so many stories about his career that they're just everywhere. These are just the stories he's telling.
He's Trump before Trump.
60s.
He's flooding the freaking news so you can only read his point of view.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
They're gonna start working on Springtime for Hitler. And he said the only person he ever had in mind for the role was Zero Mostel, who at the time was a Broadway legend. He had won 3 Tony Awards
Fiddler on the Roof.
Rhinoceros, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and Fiddler on the Roof.
I think I know him from that.
Well, he wasn't he's controversially not in the movie adaptation.
Then I do not know him from that.
But yeah, I don't think I've ever actually seen Zero Mostel in anything other than The Producers. Have you, Harry?
I have, well, other than A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. That's the only other thing I remember him from. I didn't get to see him in Fiddler on the Roof. I wasn't born yet, but I had heard that he was a bit of a notorious drunk and very difficult to work with. So that might have had something to do with why he was not asked by Norman Jewison to do the movie. But one of my, I don't know if you'll get into this, but one of my favorite stories about The Producers, specifically the Springtime for Hitler piece and the whole scene that happens after that. Mel Brooks, I don't remember what interview he was giving, but he was asked, why do it that way? Why portray Hitler that way? And he said, there is only so much you can say about the Nazis and Hitler that we don't already know. They were terrible. They were awful people. They were garbage humans. They were the villains of history. And they know that. They know they're the bad guys. And you can't do anything to them or say anything so horrible to them that they don't already know. What you can do is make them the butt of the joke. You can tear down their legacy and tear down their history and tear down Hitler by making him the butt of the joke. And that's exactly what he did. And I love that. I love that he went a completely different way to tear down this despot, this leader, and his minions, and just turn them into the biggest laughingstock.
Yeah, and that's the thing that drives the actual Nazi in the movie the most crazy, is literally just people are laughing.
Yes. But
talking during the.
I love that he didn't have to go with like some sort of like effeminate. I mean, the guy's effeminate in his own ways because of his big boots, and he's just very flamboyant. But like, he went with Beatnik. He went with someone that's laughable at that time with his one little earring. I just like that it holds up, that it's not offensive now. That would be a shame, right? But it kind of made it this little capsule of that time period, and it's a very rare thing to like take that and it still work now.
I've read my share of Hitler biographies.
Okay.
Too. And there is totally a reading just from my understanding of Hitler as this weird sort of tortured artist.
Right. He liked to draw, right?
He's like 5 degrees away from a beatnik. Like, he's just wandering around trying to sell his art. And instead he stumbled on anti-Semitism, but
he's got weird fashion choices.
I think it like hits close to home that like people know this guy was a weirdo. This is kind of accurate.
Yeah. And also, if you look at the movie musical version, the 2005 one, I think it was, where in that one, Hitler is portrayed as gay. And in that one, the joke isn't that he's gay. The joke is that he's Hitler and he's gay. And that's what would piss him off the most. Because among the first people killed in the Holocaust, along with the Jews, were trans people, gay people, actual socialists, all types of marginalized people and minorities were wiped out in the very beginning. So to portray the Fuhrer as gay would just annoy and frustrate the hell out of him. So I love that he skewered him in a different way without making the fact that Hitler is gay the punchline. It's not that he's gay, it's that he's Hitler and he's gay.
Zero Mostel. The other thing that happened to him is he was always very outspoken about his support for left-wing political causes, including maybe the Communist Party, and this got him blacklisted from Hollywood.
Hey, I think Harry did a thing on that.
Yeah?
Didn't you do a Blacklist series?
I did a whole documentary.
Yeah.
I did a whole documentary on the Hollywood Blacklist.
Mm-hmm.
What is it called? Where can we find it?
It's on TikTok, and now that I've crossed the 10,000 follower threshold, I get playlists. So there is a Hollywood Blacklist playlist. Yeah, I did the Blacklist among other introductions to public domain films and things during the strike, because I didn't, even though all the films I talk about are like 50 plus years old, I didn't want to talk about the studios that made those films. So it really hurt during Halloween time because I wanted to talk about the Universal monster movies and, you know, all the stuff that we love to watch during Halloween, all the like the Hammer films from the 70s, and I didn't get to do that. So
I want to link to your Blacklist series. I'm reading a biography of J. Edgar Hoover, G-Man by Beverly Gage, and it covers a lot of the Red Scare era, and it's like I've always known about this, but now I'm reading it and I'm like, people need to talk about this. This is insane.
Harry does.
Oh, there's a lot that they didn't bring up during the actual Blacklist. There's a lot they didn't bring up during the Red Scare because, you know, it's all propaganda. And that's, you know, I don't know if we want to get into it, but like, I firmly believe that the attack on TikTok is because the American government cannot control who's talking on it. They want to control the narrative. They, you know, back during the post 9/11, you know, when we were at war and that had just started, there was this whole big media push that basically said, if you were against the war, you were against America, similar to the Blacklist. And they controlled the narrative so well during that time because social media was nascent. It was barely MySpace at that point. Right. And then now where you've got people talking about the genocide over in Palestine, and you've got people talking about terrible things employers are doing, how they're not making enough money, how the economy isn't as great as the statistics say, and all of this stuff, like they're sharing the truth, and the government doesn't like that. And so what do? They ban the platform that people are talking on.
Because of China. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
You're so right.
The China thing's a red herring because TikTok is owned by like 12 global investors, one of whom is based in Philadelphia and owns like 15% of the company.
Well, if it's an American company surveilling on us and owning all our data and doing God knows what with it, it's fine as long as it's an American company.
But our data's in America. Our data's stored in Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of every time they do the thing that we want them to do, they just move the goalpost a little further.
Sure. What I think I never really understood until recently, until starting to read G-Man, which I highly recommend that book. I'm only halfway through it. The communism, especially in the 30s, was a, you know, pretty mainstream position for labor-minded left-wing people in America to take. And then it's like the climate shifts and it's like, wait a minute, you were involved in communism?
Right. It's like
now
you were a Democrat?
But we all were doing that back then, but now it means something different. And so now we need you to sign a loyalty pledge, or now we need you to give a deposition, and remember, if you lie on that, you're going to be guilty of perjury. And yeah, maybe it's legal to be communist, but you're going to lose your job if you say that you're a member of the Communist Party. Zero Mostel gets swept into this. He gets subpoenaed. He testifies before the House Un-American Committee's activity in 1955, and he gives this legendary testimony where he tells them all to go fuck themselves. He doesn't name names, unlike Elia Kazan, and advocates like, I'm an American. I have the right to have my political positions, and it's none of your goddamn business. It's actually really cool. And then a few years later, people don't care about this anymore, and it's like, you're fine. You can have your career again. Where we kind of moved on to a new thing. We don't care about communism anymore. It's crazy how it all just fizzled out.
They got their control back.
But yeah. And then in the 60s, his Broadway career takes off. And again, he has those 3 Tony winning roles. And then 1967, Mel Brooks casts him in The Producers. He's the only person who could ever play Max Bialystock.
It is a performance unlike anything I've ever seen. The way he is so intimate and but mean, but also close and sweet. The way he just turns it on and turns it off, and he's into it and making you feel like he actually could stomach being with these old ladies, and then he's repulsed. It's just on a dime.
But you can also tell like his heart's not in the old ladies anymore.
Of course. It's just
Yeah.
He doesn't have it in him to pretend to be a dog, but he's going to give it a try.
Touch me, whatever the fuck. Right.
Okay, Gene Wilder. Mel Brooks met Gene Wilder while Gene was working on a play with Mel's wife or future wife, Anne Bancroft. And he said, I'm working on a script for a movie called Springtime for Hitler, and you should be in it. Now, don't take any big roles. We'll be making that movie soon. And then years pass,
5 years.
And then he resurfaces and he's like, we're ready to make the movie.
Have you committed to anything?
I will refer everybody to our Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory episode where we did a deep dive into Gene Wilder. So won't say too much more about him, but we've sort of coined the Gene Wilder level of specialness where there's like these careers where you're like, the filmography is much shorter than you think it is. So every single time you see them on screen, it's just precious.
So Alan Rickman is in that category, right?
Yeah.
And then who else? There's a third person that we decided.
We might be too generous with it, but we said Christopher
whatever.
Lloyd.
Christopher, I mean, yeah.
Each
one is unique little bottle of lightning.
But I just wanted to share this anecdote from Gene Wilder's book. So this is him telling the story of meeting Zero Mostel. And Zero Mostel had the right to approve the cast. So it was, if he didn't want Gene Wilder to be in the movie, Gene Wilder would not be in the movie. And so this Gene Wilder, a brand new guy coming up against this legend of the stage. And this is what Gene Wilder says, quote, "A few hours later, I knocked on Sidney Glazer's office door. It was 11:30 a.m. Mel Brooks opened the door and gave me a hug. I could see Zero Mostel in the background. And then Mel pulled me into the office. Gene, this is Zero, this is Gene. This huge, round fantasy of a man came waltzing toward me. My heart was pounding so loud I thought he'd hear it. I stuck out my hand politely to shake his, but instead of shaking my hand, Zero pulled me into his body and gave me a giant kiss on the lips. All nervousness floated away. I think Zero did it for that reason. I gave a good reading and was cast in Springtime for Hitler."
Aww.
End quote. Yeah, they had a great time making this movie.
That makes me happy. And you can see it. They would have had to.
Yeah.
The end. That's my insight.
Okay, now this movie had a sort of mixed reception upon release. A lot of stuffy old critics said it was inappropriate and uncouth and undignified, but others thought it was brilliant. And it wasn't a hit, but it did make its money back. And then the 1969 Oscars, Mel Brooks won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for this movie. And Gene Wilder was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, a very cool Oscar nomination.
I would say.
Although the supporting actors, you can get the comedy nominations. It's the lead actors that you won't. Zero Mostel would never have been nominated for this role. Lead actors are serious business. But anyway, and then they made a Broadway version that none of us seem to like. That's the history.
I like the music in the Broadway version, but I couldn't. The movie was so stylized and over the top. I couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
I had to turn it off. I tried to watch it for this, and I was like, I get it.
I get it. Check. I've seen it done better. Goodbye.
And I've seen season 4 of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So, okay, let's talk about the movie itself. Okay.
All right.
Look, it's been a thing on this show where it's kind of hard to talk about comedies because it's just like either this is funny or this is not.
Subjective.
But we'll see what we can do. Okay, the movie opens on Max Bialystock's office, and he's sneaking a little old lady out of his office, reminds her not to forget the checky, and then he runs back into his office, swaps out the photo of the outgoing lady for the incoming lady. She makes him act like a dog, crawl on the floor, shit in a box.
Shit in a box.
Put on this necklace. Yeah, I don't.
What? He's the heart of the ocean? The fuck? All right.
And then Leo Bloom arrives. And when Gene Wilder, leans into the frame to introduce himself into the movie, it really does look like a sitcom, like Kramer entering the set and the audience.
Like applause.
It's like, hey, here I am. But
it's a terrific introduction,
it's
too.
So good.
Even before the credits start, you're introduced to this Ralph Cramden of a guy who is, bilking these old ladies out of their money. And then the way that Gene Wilder enters the scene, he's nebbishy, he's unsure of himself, and he immediately backs out of the scene. And you are right off the bat, you know who these two people are. There's no question.
I've never cared about credits more. They're perfect, and the outgoing credits too.
It makes you feel
it's
I know exactly
album.
what I'm watching.
Yes, it's like pay attention to this. Okay, Mel, I'm looking.
And the music, but I screenshotted Leo Bloom knocking and trying. and entering the office. And now I just feel so horrible for him because I can see he stood out there. He was nervous. Okay, Leo, just you're going to go in there. You got this. Mm-hmm. And he knocks. Hey, I'm here. Oh, my God. It's his worst nightmare. Everything he actually thought would happen if he went into someone's office without.
All right. You're really relating to him. I can see why you think this is the best comedic performance of all time. He is you.
I related to him so hard.
So hard. Okay.
In this movie.
And I related to Max the whole time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So they send Leo away and Max gets back to his sexcapades. They play the chauffeur game.
I do wonder, does he ever actually fuck anyone? Because he's kind of brilliant at getting out of it. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but...
That's a good question.
Any fingering?
I think fingering, and that's that.
And that's that. Okay.
No, I don't know. No, I think he's figured out
second base with the old ladies. Got it.
I think he's figured out how to not have to do that.
He's fingered
or third base.
Right, yeah, third. It's third in America, buddy.
Third. Sorry. Okay. Canadian second.
You're really rounding the bases. All right. He's smelling his blanket.
Max and Leo meet each other proper. It's just a great introduction.
The comb-overs are aplenty.
And
extraordinary.
And okay. So now we start to get to know their deals. He used to be a very big time producer. He was eating at Delmonico's. Now he wears a cardboard belt. And to demonstrate, he takes off his cardboard belt and he rips it up into pieces.
I thought he was going to show him his penis.
I want to talk about this because I was asking myself the entire movie, why is he doing this? Why does he want to produce shows at all? He's not good at it. He doesn't even seem to like it. He doesn't know how to pick a good show to produce. He's just sort of like doing it because what else is he going to do? I couldn't understand what the point of his character's job was if he was so terrible at producing these shows. He's got all these posters on his wall of all these shows that probably closed after a day, 3 days. It's like, why does anyone give you money?
Right. He seems to be chasing some dragon. Like maybe he got his first one right. Some sort of beginner's luck, maybe.
He wants the He wants the trappings of success.
Like,
at a certain point, he was successful.
Even just for a moment.
He could have been doing anything. He could have been selling cars. It's not about the art itself. It's not about...
It's about the hustle.
Being a producer. Although I did notice at the end of the movie, he is directing the prisoners in the Prisoners of Love number, and he seems really happy. And it's like, that's what you need. You need to be working with the actors. You need to be directing. That's what you should have been doing.
Okay, well.
Right.
It's a remarkable
Maybe it's the title. Maybe, because even Leo says, yesterday I was an accountant and today I'm a Broadway producer. And maybe it's just the cachet of saying to people, I'm a Broadway producer that he enjoys.
Right. And I find the title producer so murky, and maybe it was more obvious what it is.
Murky.
It's murky, right? So, it does sound prestigious.
My day job, I work for a podcast company, and my title is associate producer, and it sounds a hell of a lot more impressive than manager marketing technology of a law firm.
Right. Wait, ouch! Did you know both of us were marketers at law firms?
Yes, I did. But because I'm in the club, I can say it.
And
so funny.
I worked for a lawyer who had a TV show on which I was
you were a producer.
Associate producer.
Yes, you were.
Interesting.
Although for that, it meant I did everything.
It meant you were the fucking bitch boy.
I did everything.
Of a Toto and
Poco.
And
got paid $12 an hour.
Yes,
well, there's I can't remember what movie I think it was State and Maine. It was the David Mamet movie with Alec Baldwin and William H. Macy, where there's a running joke of just give him a producer credit. It's what you give your secretary in place of a bonus every year.
Yeah.
Like that's making them a producer is just like it's a throwaway.
That's also why the Oscars started.
Really?
Well,
it was a union busting.
Just give them a chocolate statue.
They're going to want to have a trade union and have demands like healthcare and stuff. Instead, we'll say we might reward you with a trophy.
Oh.
Yeah, Louis B. Mayer was going to build a vacation house for him and his family, and decided to use MGM's laborers, the carpenters there, to build it for him.
Oh my God!
And they gave him a timetable, and the one problem was that they had to get it done before their contract ran out because they were going to go into negotiations, and it was going to get a lot more expensive for him. So they built it in 2 months. But he realized that. There had been murmurings that the actors were going to get wind that that these carpenters were getting a union. Maybe the actors were going to want a union going forward too. So how do we get the actors to feel like they're appreciated and like they won't want to form a union? I know, we'll start an awards show. So he goes
God.
to all the other studio heads to start the Oscars. And they hold it at the Roosevelt Grand Ballroom, at the Roosevelt Hotel. And, he hands out these statues to people and he thinks that's it. We're done. We don't have to worry about this anymore. We'll just do this every year. And then, the SAG starts several years later, but the Oscar started as a union busting technique.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where did the name come from? Why Oscar?
Wasn't it the person who designed the statue?
Oh.
No, there are several stories about the Oscars. The one that seems to stick the most is that the librarian or the historian working at one of the I think for the Academy noticed that the statue bore a striking resemblance to a relative of hers named Oscar, and the nickname just sort of stuck.
Okay, got it. Perfect.
Harry, will you be my best friend?
Oh,
you know stuff like
absolutely.
Yeah, Harry, you don't know. I've never heard
My
Matt
heart broke
say
3
that.
times.
Also, a little known fact, although it's a little more known because of the what happened with Hattie McDaniel's Oscar. If you were not nominated for a main award, so Best Actor, Actress, Director, Best Picture, if you were nominated for any one of those, you got the normal statue that's looked the same for the last 96 years.
Oh,
if you were nominated for anything supporting or for makeup or costumes, anything like that, you got essentially a plaque with a little version of the statue next to it on a wooden pedestal. And it was a tinier version of the Oscar statue. And this lasted until about 1944, I think, at which point everyone got the same statue. But if you were a child actor, you got a mini version of the Oscar statue up until like 1960, I think.
Oh my God.
That's so sweet.
Those are adorable. There's a picture in one of my videos of Bobby Driscoll, who was the character, the actor and the character model for Peter Pan in Disney's Peter Pan, of him either presenting or getting a child actor Oscar on stage.
That's cute. Matt.
I wasn't expecting us to go down.
Matt is so flustered right now. Oh my God. Matt.
Sorry, I took us on a tangent, but when we started on the history,
no,
I
you
can't
don't.
help.
This is fucking Matt catnip. I feel like I should leave.
No, I just read the book Oscar Wars, so this is all swimming around in my brain.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that about how it started as a union busting operation, or literally what the Academy.
Right. What does that even mean? You hear it
the
thrown
studio
around.
heads coming together and being like, let's have a little cartel, why don't we? But
Pretty much, yeah.
Put a nice face on it. We're giving you awards, celebrating Hollywood. Okay. The producers.
Right. They produce. So now Gene is sniffing his blankie.
Here's another time I really related to Leo. Is Bialystok is ranting about all the things, and now he has a cardboard belt, etc. Leo has a look on his face, and Max says, "You have exactly 10 seconds to get that look off of your face and replace it with it." And Gene Wilder just doesn't know what to do. It's amazing, but I also related hardcore because Laci's always getting mad at me for my faces.
Your face is dumb.
And I don't know what to do with my face to make you happy.
Fucking suck it in.
So I
and
just
throw
try
it
all
away.
kinds of things. Nothing works.
I know, but Gene really does try a lot of faces.
Yeah.
He really does. All right. Come on.
And then Leo has a panic attack, so he pulls out his blue blanket, and this calms him down. Another thing from Gene Wilder's book. Gene Wilder is a method actor, studied the method from Lee Strasberg himself. And he says in his book that as he was to act this scene, he remembered his little dog who had died very tragically the year before when he threw a tennis ball in Central Park and it flew into the pond, and the dog chased after it and drowned in the pond.
What the fuck kind of dog?
Gene Wilder is hilariously caressing his blue blankie, the actor is thinking of his dearly departed dog, and that's what allowed him to go nuts right here. You're welcome. So
the vein comes out of his forehead. It's beautiful.
I noticed that like these two guys, what's unusual is they trade between them who is the straight man and who's the wacky one. And they're both great at both of them.
They just instinctively know when it's their turn. They just kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde tennis.
They will both go to 10 at various times while the other one is the sane, rational one.
Right, like us.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the scheme starts to happen. Laci, tell us about the scheme.
Right. Well, Gene is doing fucking accounting for all of 10 minutes, and he realizes you can make a lot of money if you just earned more than you needed and promised a lot of things and contractually obligated yourself, except for you can't pay out because it flops. You can make a lot of money and not be on the hook for it. You just put it all in the books. You cook them. See? Did I get it?
Yeah, I love how excited Gene Wilder is as he's saying all of this, and then how excited
numbers.
Max gets about it, and neither of them understands that.
They're about to.
To him, to Leo, he's just excited. I just came up with this amazing accounting theory. Mm-hmm. And he's so proud of himself for coming up with it. And then when Max says, like, well, let's actually do it, he's like, whoa, what are you talking about?
Right. So that happens.
That happens.
Now we're moving on.
What what is your problem?
I don't know. Gonna have to pee soon.
I think that this idea that you can make more with a flop than with a hit, as you know, movie studios are like, actually, it's more profitable to delete a movie and burn all the copies of it than to put it out in theaters or put it on our streaming service or to make it public domain. It seems more and more realistic. That's what I thought.
Wow. No, it's my favorite freak out when he gets. No.
You're going to jump on me.
You're going to jump on me.
Yeah. That's why comedy's hard to talk about, because it's like, this part's funny too.
It's a real you had to be there kind of thing.
Right. It's all in the performance. I'm wet, and I'm in pain. And then he asks him, which would not work in any other scenario. Max says, if I smile, will that help? And then he smiles, and it's the sweetest moment where Gene's like, no, that really does help. Yeah. I really do like that smile.
But I love when Leo is going into hysterics. He's having a panic attack. He doesn't say panic attack. He says, I'm having hysterics. And Max throws a glass of water on him. What? Like a movie. He's seen in movies, this works.
Let me slap him. Let me throw water.
And for a second it does work, but it doesn't work.
It's just
and then he slaps him.
I'm wet and I'm in hysterics.
Right. And these things do not work, you fucking asshole.
I'm in pain.
What I need is you to be nice to me, which is such a human basic thing. Like, no, just stop being mean and backing me into corners, you big man.
I watched the first 30 minutes of this movie a few months ago while we were doing our Willy Wonka research. And I thought okay, this is the funniest movie of all time. And I still think the first 20 minutes are perfect and the funniest part. But Harry, you weren't laughing that much?
I guess I just kept finding myself asking questions during the film, and also noting, as we go on when they get to the Franz Liebken's, or is that his name, Franz Liebken?
Yeah,
Liebken, his apartment and all that. I like something clicked with me with the film, but I like slapstick and I love Gene Wilder and Zero Mostel, but for some reason there was just something not clicking with me watching this scene. And I don't know why. Maybe I'm broken inside.
No,
I don't know.
It sounds
I kept thinking, have I seen this or heard this before? And Matt thinks I'm crazy, but I kept thinking of Jerry Lewis, and I don't know why. But there is a part of the performance that feels like I feel so familiar, but not from this. But maybe it's because it's been parodied,
And also, I think partly I've been watching Resident Alien on Netflix. Is it Netflix? Yeah, I think it's on Netflix. And that stars Alan Tudyk. And I noticed that Gene Wilder Alan Tudyk has very big Gene Wilder energy.
Huh.
Who is that?
They're very similar styles. And I kept thinking, if they ever remade this, Alan Tudyk would be the perfect Leo Bloom.
Do I know Alan?
That's interesting. Do you know Alan Tudyk? You know him as a voice actor, but as a live action actor?
He's been on Firefly. He's been on. He was the voice of King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah,
yes. I can picture him now.
He's in every Disney animation movie.
Yes,
yeah, live action.
Yeah. Oh, he was the Duke of Weaselton in Frozen.
Yes.
Weaselton. Ryan Gosling says his entire model for acting is Gene Wilder.
Well, he needs to try harder.
Yeah, I don't see it either, but that's what he says, and he's trying to do more comedy. I don't know.
All right, well,
that's a thing.
Good for him. They're so sweet. Then they go on their little mandate, and that's when it's all manipulation, but they somehow fall in love anyway. Gene has his first fun day of his whole life, Leo.
That's the Bialystok magic. He's manipulating you. He's using you to get what he wants, but he makes you feel great about it.
But he also seems like he's having a good time. It's not like his old ladies. He's actually enjoying every moment. He's not rolling his eyes. He's not like cringing or worried about the next boat ride or romp around a fountain. He's like, I like this motherfucker.
They're eating hot dogs. They're riding the carousel.
He's riding the carousel.
This is the happiest he seems to have been in a long time in his life. Like he's got a purpose now to do something that isn't just put on another shitty show.
Right. Put on the shittiest show.
We watched Blazing Saddles. We had the same takeaway. We're like, we like when they're nice friends with each other.
We like when they're sweeties. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
We're such basic assholes. Right.
But yeah, this is all manipulation. I want you to go with me on my scheme. And eventually he decides I will. I want everything I've ever seen in the movies. The fountain explodes. It's beautiful. We're all crying and laughing and applauding. Okay, then the next movement of the movie.
The movement of the movie.
Is they need to search for the perfect play to flop.
Boyds.
This is when my panic attacks really start, because sometimes I will think like, what if I won the lottery or like inherited a business and now I had to run it? I'd make every decision incorrectly. I know I would. Like,
you'd go to jail so
fast. If I ran a sports team, if I owned a restaurant, every hire I made would be wrong.
Okay, what are you?
Oh, that's just.
How's this related?
That's just what I feel as I watch this.
Oh, because they're compiling
script,
the worst thing, but they're actually accidentally compiling the best thing.
Yes.
They only went wrong with the actor. That's the only step they really took wrong.
That's true. And, it did occur to me. It's only opening night. Surely they could have retooled the play and made it non-funny.
But just Nancy Kerrigan, that fucking main guy, and then the whole thing's done. No one can be that guy.
Yeah. There were no previews. There was no workshopping. Like, I remember when Hamilton was making the rounds before it was even on Broadway.
Yeah.
They were performing for the president. He was doing changes left and right. Like, they never just put on a show and then that was it.
It's such a good point. Right. Like, this is one little one-off fucking theater on Broadway. Just 500 people. We'll be okay.
Plus, it maybe had a great opening night, but then people get over it.
Right. Like, once you know the shtick and once people are doing impressions of it, because this man is forever impressionable, even though I can't do one.
Why isn't this movie realistic?
Also, can that man... Can that performer even do that every single night? It seems exhausting. Okay. Question into the void. Doesn't matter. It's hot in here.
Oh, you mean Dick Shawn, the one who plays Hitler?
Yes, it's just so organic. It's so true to who he is already. I'm just thinking, like, do you really want to do this night after night for 5 years?
I kept thinking, is he going to get bored after like the first two performances?
That's exactly what I was thinking. He's too authentic to keep. He did this spin on Hitler because he was bored. What's he going to do next? Hitler? Probably.
or he'll find something else. He'll get distracted. He'll
do a whole other thing.
He'll hitchhike somewhere and not know how to get back.
Or just play Hitler straight because he's fucking bored. Ruin everything.
Yeah. So they stumble on this play, Springtime for Hitler, written by Franz Liebken. So they go and they find Franz Liebken, played by Kenneth Mars. You might remember Kenneth Mars as the voice of Ariel's father in The Little Mermaid.
I don't, but he has Randy Quaid vibes.
He has interesting.
Randy Quaid in Independence Day vibes.
Yes, he does.
He immediately thinks they're law enforcement coming to arrest him for being a former Nazi. I just did a Google, Nazis arrested. And yes, as of 2024, Nazis are still getting arrested and prosecuted even when they're 100 years old.
Too soon. Just kidding.
Which also, like, the other thing I was thinking during this, there were two things I was thinking during this. One, Operation Paperclip, in which Nazis were recruited by the U.S. government to build our space program. So they were here legally, and they got absolved of their crimes when they came over here. And then this is where the movie really clicked for me and I don't know if you guys do the prediction thing at the end, but I'm going to do it now if that's okay. Because this is where I realized this is absolutely still relevant today. Everybody, when they get to that apartment building, they meet Madeline Cates, who plays the landlady. She calls herself the concierge, and her performance or her line there, like I'm the concierge. I'm the one who greets you here. She's trying to elevate herself out of her situation in life, even just a little bit with her title. She's not the landlady; she's the concierge. Leo doesn't want to be an accountant; he wants to be a Broadway producer, and Max just wants success, however it comes in any capacity. Doesn't even have to be a good show. He just wants money.
Right.
And all I'm thinking is these people are just trying to get by. The Nazi on the roof is trying to like not be captured by the feds.
Right.
Everybody is just trying to eke out a living in some way because the system is keeping them down. And that is like, as soon as I saw her, I was like, that's what this is. This is about average Americans just trying to do what the best they can with what little they have.
Well, and rise to the thing that they think they're supposed to be doing in America, right? Like, not everyone's an immigrant of something, and especially then they weren't so removed from that status. So it's just like, let me become the thing I'm supposed to be. I'm in the city of, are they in New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Broadway, right. So they're in the fucking city of dreams. Yeah.
They filmed in New York. This movie came out about 2.5 weeks after How to Succeed in Business premiered. So they both came out the same year. I assume they were filming blocks from each other because it seemed like they were in similar neighborhoods. So I'm curious to know if like production crews ever ran into each other while they were filming.
That's a great point about the
you be our background. Yeah.
The concierge. I'd never.
Of course.
I just thought like this is just good little texture. Just this is the world. This is just some quirky person, but yeah, she is herself living out the Leo Bloom dream. I love that. I also love that he's trying to hide and not get caught, but he wrote a play called Springtime for Hitler celebrating.
He's not the smartest.
Celebrating.
Yeah. Also, he's a Nazi who wrote a play. Like, you guys burned books, and you're writing a musical.
He loves Hitler that much that he needs to get the word out at all costs.
And like, they're like these Trump freaks who think like not just the things people love about Trump, but like he's also so hot and handsome.
Right, like the lore.
And virile.
Like, no, you just don't get it.
And he's like, no, Hitler was a great dancer.
He loves all the things in Hitler that he loves in himself. He just wants those things expressed. Like, you could be a true Nazi and love these things. In fact, Hitler did. Let me rewrite history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, this goes to Mel Brooks painting these guys as absolute clowns.
Right.
Like, these are unserious people.
Exactly. Who still wear their helmets all the time.
Who still wears his pith helmet on the roof.
Yeah.
And who gives out arm badges as like fucking favors.
I love that. I love that the next it cuts to them and they're wearing the swastikas, and it takes a minute for Gene Wilder to be like, I don't want to wear this anymore.
Right.
And then they take them off, they throw them in the garbage can, and then they both spit on them. And I remember Roger Ebert pointing this out in his Great Movies essay on this movie, is the movie never specifies that these two characters are Jews. Mm-hmm. But I realized they're watching like rehearsals and everything for Springtime for Hitler.
Yeah.
And they're like, to us, this is obviously the most offensive thing ever. But to their like Goyim audience, they're not going to be as offended by it because it's not as personal for them.
Right.
They're just going to view it as a comedy, where Bialystok and Bloom could never see it as a comedy because it's still so personal for them that they're going to spit on a swastika.
Yes. And so it's okay for them to kind of want to fuck over this first audience because fuck them for laughing. Right. You know, like it's like, yeah, let me get your money. Let me make this flop. Yeah. You guys aren't in on it, white old ladies.
So they go into pre-production on the play, and
those boobs do not live in the gravity that I live in. Her fucking boobs.
You're talking about Ula.
Yeah. Sorry. There's a picture of Ula on the screen. Her boobs are crazy. They're so perky.
Do we think Ula is funny?
No. She's hot. No. The gag.
What'd you think of her?
Mel Brooks always throws these hot bombshell things in here. I mean, it wouldn't be his show without it. I don't know. She's fine. I have no thoughts. Harry, help me.
She's eye candy. I mean, Lee Meredith was gorgeous. So he like you said, he does this a lot. He did this with in Men in Tights with John Ritter's wife. I can't remember her name now. Shit. I'm
not good with names, or I'd help you.
Every once in a while I blank on names, but the redhead, I can't remember her name, but like the first time we see her, she gets out of a bathtub and she's covering her her boobs with her hair, and she's wearing the chastity belt. You know, he does that. And then also in Young Frankenstein, the bosoms are always pushed up.
And of course Blazing Saddles as well. I mean,
Blazing Saddles. He does this a lot. This is just his shtick.
He pushes the envelope.
They're funnier in Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles though. Oh, that's all. I just
well, but Max has been fucking all the old ladies. It's nice that a nice young lady wants to make love.
It's nice.
I guess.
Yeah.
He goes into little.
I actually thought that's where the musical adaptation did better. I think Uma Thurman was a better version of that character than this one.
And
she has stuff to do.
In my head, this woman had more to do. So I was let down when I saw her. I had let the two kind of cross-pollinate in my head. And so I was like, oh, okay, she really doesn't even speak English. I was waiting on the female.
Well,
whatever.
They're going over their numbers, and I have my third panic attack of the movie when Leo Bloom counts
Amy
it up.
Yazbek. Sorry, that was going to bother the hell out of me. Amy Yazbek.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry.
He totals up the percentages of profits they've sold. They've sold 25,000% of the profits, and my heart really does sink at that point. Like, I know this is a fake movie, but I'm like, guys, you shouldn't be doing this.
That's so amazing to me. You are really feeling Leo's role in this, and the whole time I'm thinking, like, Max, like, that sounds fine. That sounds fine.
I could so easily see it happening to me.
Well, because I'm just an optimist. Like, we're getting away with this shit. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. We're gonna make all this money.
Well, also the little old ladies don't know that they're not the only one investing in the show.
Right.
They think there's a Jerry Lewis movie called Boeing that's very much like this. It's a comedy of errors about it's is it Tony Randall or Tony? I think no, Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis and Jerry Lewis play friends, and Tony Curtis plays this guy who's dating 3 different flight attendants on 3 different airlines, and they all just so happen to be in the city at the same time.
Yep.
And so he's trying to negotiate them coming to and from his apartment without them meeting each other. And this is sort of that kind of situation where, all these little old ladies are giving him checks and he's whining and dining them, trying to keep them from meeting each other.
I know. I just keep thinking about opening night, and then they all show up in the courtroom for him, and that's just so sweet because, like, they're all okay with well, we got our slice. We still feel special. He's that good. All right, now the most problematic portion of the fucking evening.
Well, they go meet the director. He's the worst director in the world, Roger Dubree.
Why does he have so much money then? That's what I want.
And the joke with him and his assistant is they're gay.
They're so gay, y'all.
They're 2 men in a relationship.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Let's get married again.
And it's just, this is the part where I'm like, this movie is really dragging. Just not that funny. But
it's hard to
they're very
watch.
flamboyant. But it's like the only joke is like, look at gay people on screen.
Right. It's hard to watch that part because they do such a good job otherwise.
It's hard to watch it with modern eyes, and it's the same thing with I watched recently The Taking of Pelham 123, the original. I hadn't seen it before, and there are a lot of references. It was made in 1974, so it was women had just been allowed to work at the MTA in New York, and they make several references to like, we let women in here, and suddenly everything, all the shit hits the fan, and it's like, okay, this is not modern day America.
Right.
And so you just sort of have to watch it, realizing or remembering it's of the time it was made. And I see this a lot with people with Gone with the Wind. It's like, oh, it's so racist. Yeah, it absolutely is racist. Had it not been for the Hays Code, this would have been a lot worse and a lot closer to the book, which is racist as hell. So, be glad with what you got. It's still a great movie. It's just very problematic.
Right.
But like specifically with this, it's like the literal joke is it's a man wearing a dress. There's like no heightened comedy to it.
Right.
That's
it feels
really
too
what it's
easy for Mel Brooks. Like,
maybe it's like, hey, give him points. This is 1968, and there's a gay person, and there's a cross-dresser on screen.
True.
And that itself maybe is progress. We're just acknowledging the existence.
But we hadn't really advanced beyond Bugs Bunny in a dress at this point. Like we were still doing those jokes, and we were doing those jokes well into, like, Flip Wilson was doing drag on his show in the 70s, and they were doing this stuff well into the 80s with Bosom Buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, drag as comedy has been a staple of entertainment.
Right. When was Tootsie?
Up until recently.
82.
Yeah, Tootsie. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was still like a viable Halloween costume option at school for just a guy to wear a dress when I was in high school. I mean,
yeah,
that's hilarious comedy.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
There you go. The fuck.
And that was just on Broadway too.
There's a Mrs. Doubtfire Broadway.
Yeah, they turned it into a musical.
Holy shit.
But even with these things you're saying, there's a step 2 to the joke. It's
right.
I dressed up as a woman, now I have to be the actual nanny.
Right,
Here
exactly.
the joke is this man's wearing a dress.
I'll bet he's a bad director.
The joke is fish out of water doing a job he's not qualified for and trying to hide from his wife in Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Where this is just, we've got to stomach this director because he's the worst there is. And it's so hard to stomach because look how gay he is. Yeah, it just feels a little low for Mel Brooks' talent, but that's all right.
I do like him saying, I never knew the Third Reich meant Germany. And this place filled with historical goodies like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
And Germany losing the war in the third act is too depressing, so we'll replace it with a musical number. Yeah. So that's this stuff.
I don't know. I
And
think
then-
Mel Brooks is kind of like projecting himself onto this man, right? Because it's really Mel Brooks who's seeing this musical as a musical. So maybe he's kind of making fun of himself. Like maybe I should be in a dress. Maybe I'm the one that sees things.
Maybe.
People see me like this if they knew how I really saw the world. I win. Okay, and now we're going to audition for Adolf, and there are just all the dancing Adolfs go over here, all the singing ones over here. It's anarchy. I'm not sure why the producers get to pick this and not the director, but whatever.
They're all working together. It's very collaborative.
This scene I laughed at, just seeing all of these grown-ass men in their little toothbrush mustaches,
right,
hiling all over the place and getting in each other's way. I thought it was hysterical.
Just kicking and grunting and wearing nothing and wearing a lot of stuff.
And they're singing and they're singing over each other, and it's just... It was very funny.
And it makes you wonder about the real cast call for this. It's like how just anyone bring their version of Hitler to this, please, for this movie.
Yeah, maybe these guys are all the guys who didn't get the role of LSD.
It's very possible.
But tell us about LSD.
Must I?
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd even start. He thinks he's coming in for a completely other different play. He's got a whole squad of ladies that are going to play his music. He's a really cool cat, yet he doesn't have any employment. I don't know. He's a beatnik. Yeah. He's wild. I don't know what else to tell you.
Dick Shawn. Do you know Dick Shawn, Harry?
I had seen him before, and I couldn't place him. I couldn't remember where I had seen him before.
There's something so familiar, though.
He was John Ritter's father on Three's Company.
Oh, no, that's not it.
Oh, God, that's okay.
But yeah, I don't know him from anything else. It's just he's listed on the poster and everything. It's like, and Dick Shawn. Like, Dick Shawn, he must be somebody.
Like, was he in any Gidget movies? Was he in any, like, just Elvis stuff? Like, he just feels like a throwback that I'm very familiar with.
He was in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. That's probably the most famous thing he's done.
But that movie has 10,000 people in it.
Oh, yeah, it's a total ensemble cast there.
Yeah.
There's something very tan about him, something very California in some way. I just feel like I've probably seen him in some B-list movie.
Apparently he
was a character actor. He did a lot of TV in the 80s and the 70s and stuff. He showed up on a lot of different shows.
But he seems to have been a go-to for we need somebody to play a hippie or a beatnik or a counterculture.
Yeah.
So we'll get him. Most of my life, my understanding of beatniks it was just Ned Flanders' parents on The Simpsons. Okay. And I guess this movie. I feel like beatniks have kind of been erased from history.
Tell that to Mad Men.
Okay.
All right. Now
tell that to Judy Funny.
That's true. Oh, Judy Funny, but I didn't know she was a beatnik.
Fuck is Judy Funny?
Who's Judy Funny?
Oh, why don't you eat my dick
From
back?
Doug?
From Doug Laci? Doug's sister?
We're using their last name. Jesus, so formal. I just know her as Judy. Anyway, opening night time. Now it's when they really cash in. By the way, they're talking way too loud in the back of the fucking theater. Quiet. And we get to finally see these numbers, and we get to see these boobies. It's very risque. Yeah. Whatever. The play starts off, the opening musical.
I laughed my ass off when the dancers come down and you see the beer steins on the chest and the Bavarian pretzels. I lost it.
Yep, the pretzels were good. And then just the goose stepping, because it already looks very musical. They just put it into the right atmosphere, and it's like, yes, this works.
That's what Charlie Chaplin did with The Great Dictator. And people have always pointed out, like,
it's very
with Hitler, with Mussolini, with these fascists.
Oh, it's all pump.
Heighten it like 5%, and it's comedy.
And so is Star Wars.
And you're so silly. You're so silly looking and sounding.
They watch any of that footage of Hitler at the dais watching his soldiers march by, and it's pageantry. They love pageantry.
Right.
And like you said, if you elevate it 5%, it becomes a musical number. Like it's hilarious.
Right. You're 5% off from the people you are completely annihilating. Good job.
Yeah.
We're marching to a faster pace. Look out, here comes the master race.
Master race. God, that's so good. It's so funny.
So the opening number is not a hit and people start walking out, but then they hear voices and they're funny voices and they all come back. What do you want me to say?
Before that happens, though, just like Mel Brooks, this is his first directing job. He does a hell of a job.
Oh, sorry.
filming
Why'd you give
and
me
staging
this
a
slide?
musical number. I'm not. So good job, Mel. You got a future.
Yeah, you're a bright star.
I love the shots of Max and Leo. They look so proud. They look like genuinely moved. Like, we did it. We put on a big piece of shit.
It's fucking hard to put on a play.
Yep.
We did it. And I feel so good for them.
Especially when everyone starts walking out.
They're just like, let us lead the pack. And they go and they think everyone's following them. And then they get real fucking drunk, which is lovely.
Yep. And then
By the silvery moon.
as you said, Laci, but then once the actors start talking, suddenly the audience is into it.
Like,
They're
what?
Hey, wait a minute.
There's another act.
It's funny.
Holy shit, let's just stay. We already got dressed up.
Yeah. They go to the bar across the street. They're going to wait it out. They don't want to get harassed by the angry theater goers. But they like it.
Well, and for us, the audience, the movie has picked up again. It is funny again. It had stopped being a little bit of a lull. And we get to watch Shaun of the Dead. What's his fucking name?
That's it. It's
All
Shaun
right,
of the Dead.
perfect.
The play is a hit. And now they don't know what to do. Now I'm having my fourth panic attack. You have too many percentage points to hand out. What are you going to do? So they tried to persuade Franz Liebken, hey, can you just assassinate the actor or blow up the theater? So he says, yes, he will. And then there's some shenanigans with blowing up the theater, and eventually
blow up themselves.
They do. Like, there's only 8 minutes left in this movie, and there's still a ton that has to happen.
They get a lot done.
Yeah, they blow up the theater.
I love how they got minor injuries and Franz
full
Liebken is
body.
in a full body cast.
We have that picture
But he
on
still
screen
has
right
his
here.
helmet. Like
He still has his helmet.
You're describing
He's
exactly
in the courtroom.
what Matt put. But he looks so. Look at his muscles. They wrapped his muscles so nice. And then the sweet little.
They're convicted.
They're
and now
convicted.
do you want to have to say anything before we sentence you? And Leo Bloom stands up and Gene Wilder delivers this completely sincere, heartfelt defense of his friend. And he's delivering it like he really
To
means
Kill a
it.
Mockingbird.
And it's like moving and touching and so funny because of how serious and straight he's being. And this man showed me kindness. He showed me that life has possibilities. I can want things out of life and take it. And he taught me that. And who has he really harmed? Not me, not the little old ladies. And
then in true movie magic, all three of them end up in the same beautiful prison, which would not happen.
Yeah, now we're in prison and they're up to it again. They're putting on a new play, Prisoners of Love, and selling shares to other prisoners and the guards and the warden.
Couldn't they just fucking put on a play and live their best life? Do they also? It turns out the scam is also
That's
part
all they
of
know how
living
to
their
do.
best. Right, yeah. So there you go.
But as I said, Max is happy right now. He's working with the actors he's directing.
That's what I'm saying. He could just be down for the art of it. Doesn't also have where's he going from this? Solitary? When this doesn't fucking work out, it's going to be a hit. It's in prison. No, nothing else to watch. Short-sighted.
There's just one more thing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There's a deleted scene. I tried to find it. I could not. I went through the DVD. I couldn't. Maybe I imagined this, but I remember a poster for the Prisoners of Love show at the end of the movie that says starring, and then it just has a prisoner number. And it says, and another prisoner number.
That's funny.
And I couldn't find it. But
all right,
folks, trust me, it's funny.
And I laughed.
That's the end of the movie.
Yay!
Let's all give our final thoughts and our star rating out of 5. Let's start with our
Harry.
esteemed guest.
Yes.
What'd you think, Harry?
Okay, so even though I didn't laugh as much as I thought I would, I still very much enjoyed it because I love seeing these two actors do their thing, and Gene Wilder is always a treat to watch.
Absolutely.
So I gave it, I think on Letterboxd I gave it 4.5 out of 5.
We all did.
what
Sorry.
spoiler?
Sorry. I'm just glad we all gave it 4.5.
And that was mostly because I think it's a very important movie to watch. It's a very poignant movie to watch, and again, this goes to my prediction. Even with the even with what I mentioned before about, this is very much like a labor movie. This is a movie about average people just trying to do a little better in their lives. We are still dealing with modern day Nazis and trying to make these people look as foolish as possible. And that never goes out of style. So it still holds up.
Absolutely. Matt, what the
Laci,
fuck's up with you?
You go next.
Why do you do that? Same. What? I can't think of anything like it. Both of the leads have performances I don't think could ever be replicated. It is just foolish to try to make a remake of any of this. It's a fool's errand. And for that it gets 4.5 because it's precious even if it dips.
I love Harry's point about labor.
I bet you do.
It is. Yeah, I bet in 1967 the idea that there would be actual Nazis seemed so ridiculous, and now
Right. Yeah.
no, they're like a
No,
respected part of the political spectrum. We have to listen to them.
They've got tiki torches.
So that's
Look out.
great. That's nice. But I love making fun of Hitler. I know that there's always been like we shouldn't make these people look like jokes because that means we shouldn't take them seriously. No, we should take them seriously, but don't forget these are fucking idiots who don't know what they're doing. And they're all just pretending to be just superheroes / people on stage just marching around.
They're all the lead of their own play,
I don't know.
even if it's a flop.
I was not expecting there to be such a dip in the middle of this movie, which sucks because otherwise I'd say it's my favorite Mel Brooks movie.
And your favorite comedy.
It's not my favorite comedy.
It's not, but you thought it would be.
And I put Blazing Saddles above this just because I think it's a better, just he'd grown as a director. It sustains the energy throughout. But this is a great movie. You should certainly see it. And I think Bialystok and Bloom, Zero Mostel, and Gene Wilder are my favorite things from any Mel Brooks movie.
Mm-hmm.
So 4.5 stars. Go see it, folks.
Yeah, everyone, just go to your local theater and see that movie.
I'd love to see it in a theater. This is a time travel movie. I wish I could be in the theaters in 1968 experiencing it with people there who, based on accounts were like throwing feces at the screen. They were so
My favorite thing about
offended.
this podcast was introducing the two of you. Truly, I don't know anyone like Harry and only anyone like Matt. And when Matt met Harry is what just happened here. So,
Yeah.
I would like to say one thing in that the three of them ending up in the same prison is not as out of the ordinary as you might
How
think.
dare you?
It's the same jurisdiction.
How dare you both?
So not just that. So going back to the Hollywood blacklist, the Hollywood 10, all but maybe one of them were sentenced to a year in prison, and they all went to different prisons, or groups of them went to different prisons. There were like 3 or 4 prisons they all got sent to in different arrangements. Ring Lardner Jr., who was a screenwriter, ended up in Danbury, Connecticut in a prison for 1 year. Well, it turns out the same year he went, the congressman who questioned all of them, Congressman J. Parnell Thomas, who's from New Jersey, like me. He wound up being found guilty of tax and salary fraud for putting fake people on his payroll. And he ended up in Danbury, Connecticut, alongside Ring Lardner Jr. So the accuser and the accused were in the same prison at the same time.
Fucking
And what's
star-crossed.
fucking insane is they actually collaborated on a stage musical together. After that.
Yeah, exactly. Prisoners in Love, yeah.
Well, they cooked the books. He's already
Which
good
they
at it,
were,
baby.
yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, Harry, tell us again where everybody can find you.
How do we get
online.
more? How do we just wring the sponge of Harry and drip it all over our audience? Sorry about that.
So you can find me on TikTok at Lobby Intros. You can find me on Instagram at Lobby_intros, because some schmuck already had Lobby Intros. You can also find me on lobbyintros.com. I have a website I've been working on building up. So I'm putting my intros there, my videos there, along with the scripts, the transcripts there. So this is also working in tandem as I build out a YouTube presence. Slightly, I'm trying to diversify as much as I possibly can
Just in
if
case.
TikTok goes
Yeah.
the way of the dino, or the way of the dodo, I should say.
All of it.
All of it, all the extinct animals. So I'm in all of those places, but I'm mostly on TikTok. If you want to see the newest stuff, TikTok is where I am.
Awesome.
And we will put links in the description and also to your Blacklist series.
Yes,
which
Matt's very
sounds so
excited about
interesting.
this.
Yes. Okay, as for us...
I was just gonna say I did the Blacklist, and then Matt, for you, if you want to keep going, I did a 2-part series on the Writers Guild strike from 1960, and I did a 4-part series on the Hays Code as well.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay. As for us,
or 5-part series on the Hays Code, 4-part on the Blacklist, 5-part on the Hays Code. That's it.
If you see 5 parts, you know you're in the Hays Code. If you see 4 parts,
yeah,
you're in the
playlists are all there.
You've gone too far.
You've gone too far.
All right, and for us, we want 5 stars, bitches. Review us, you fucking slackers. It's what gives us the sweet, sweet cheese of money.
And also, my fantastic, beautiful logo was designed by Laci, and it's gorgeous. Absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you.
Laci designs the best logos in the biz. Truly,
she does. She's getting through all of Film Talk. I've seen like 3 other people with your logos.
I started a wave. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be able to help in some way.
We are on the social medias: YouTube, Load Bearing Beams Pod, TikTok, Load.BearingBeams, Instagram, Load Bearing Beams. I'm on Twitter at MattStokes9. The show is Load Bearing Pod. I'm on Letterboxd at MattStokes9. Laci's on Letterboxd at Load Bearing Laci. I have a band called Rural Route 9. We do the music for the show.
You should listen to it.
Rural Route 9 is the name of the band. The Joy of Averages is the name of the album. And that's it. That's it. Thank you so much, Harry.
Thank
we
you,
had
Harry.
fun talking to you.
Thank you.
3, 4. Everybody, Load Bearing Beams, Load Bearing